Yeah,
stop spoiling.
I was about to tell a very off-color joke, Charles.
I might work with it. Hey, come on.
Right.
Good morning, DragonCon. How's everybody doing?
Hey, everybody, hello.
Sounds like a great kindergarten class. I love it.
Yeah.
Good morning, Mr. Charles. Hey, we got a few quick announcements real quick. Double quick. We've got charity going on, right? Every year DragonCon has a charity. They match it dollar for dollar. So if you give $1, they give $1. Those kind of things. This year's charity is Helping Hands, and it's a really, really good one. They didn't fill out my read, so I don't remember all the details, but I do remember they help children, they help communities. I'm trying to get my hands on one of these $10 coloring books. So here they're freaking awesome. There are coloring events going on around the con. That sounds really fun. That you go pay your $10, color with people. You take the book with you. It's pretty awesome. So Helping Hands is our charity. And along those lines, for our panelists, it is before 10 p.m. So if you start swearing, we got a penalty bucket. You can help out the charity.
Oh, I didn't know that.
We have.
We got an email after last year.
Yeah.
We're like,
Hey,
just so you
Hey,
know.
yeah, they're
don't
like,
do that.
hey, dude, thanks for giving us $1,000 of charity money. We appreciate you. But it's all good. So this isn't about me. This is about the awesome panel. So I'm going to turn it over to Steven, who's going to take it away.
Hey, everybody. Welcome. Thank you. All right. No, clap for them. They're the smart people up here. Yeah, it's super excited to be here. Is everybody excited to be at DragonCon Friday? Y'all got enough coffee in you to get started? All right. Well, good. Well, what I love about DragonCon the most, and this panel in particular, this is like the perfect panel for DragonCon because it's a neighborhood. And what are neighborhoods? A place where people get together and hang out together and eat food, do cool stuff, maybe drink a little, in general, have a really good time. So I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that we can have this conversation. But I want to kick it off first just by introducing the panel. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, starting at the very end.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. My name is Eric Good. I go by Hey Good on all the things. I make mental health and ADHD related content on TikTok, also crafting content. I really like making stuff out of garbage. It's great. I also have a top 50 mental health podcast called Katie and Eric's Infinite Quest, where Katie Source and I talk about navigating life as neurodivergent adults and all the weirdness that comes with that. I also am a Twitch streamer, and yeah, thanks so much for being here at 11:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Let's go.
DragonCon early.
Speaking of finding treasure in one's trash, I am Chelsea, aka Chelsea Bites, and I like to just build computers. So really anything from low budget to really, really high tier. I was very blessed to raise over $5,000 to give back to my community in a whole PC build. Wild ride. It is just wild to sit up and be like, yeah, guys, okay, I will match dollar for dollar, please. I just really wanted to do this for you guys, so hop in, let's get it going. And it got met in like a couple of weeks, so that was nuts for me. But I love talking. I play a lot of variety games. I'm a streamer. I put content on TikTok, YouTube, all of those places, content creator. But I also host for Amazon and AMC. And I work with Intel a lot. Just did a chip swap for them live on my stream. That was a lot of fun. So basically just exploring what being a nerd and a geek is, and just finding more people that look like me as a nerd and a geek, and finding them more professional spaces. So it's a journey. It's a lot of fun. And I can't wait to see more. Gotta pass it to you.
I am Kyle Sullivan. I'm a filmmaker. I work as a director and a camera operator. I also have a YouTube channel, one half of a YouTube channel called Expertise, kicking at about 100,000 subscribers right now.
Nice.
And I've got a podcast called Wiki Surfer, and I don't like to talk as much as you, but you get me about Star Trek, and I'll talk all day long.
There you go.
There you go.
Said it. The Trekkies.
I'm Amanda Freeberg. I have a podcast called All's Fair in Lava and Floor. And it's about the Netflix show Floor is Lava. And it's dumb and silly and really good. And we have some subscribers because it turns out when you tie yourself to a limited series of TV, you can only put out like 12 episodes in 2 years. But people came back when the new season started, so that's a pretty big deal. And then I am also the business manager for the McElroy family and all of the podcasts they produce. So I have a lot of experience with a couple thousand downloads and then like a couple 100,000 downloads. So I The middle's a little harder for me, but 2 ends I've got for you.
Awesome. Welcome, everybody. I'm Steven Adams. I'm the host of Those Were the Days, a classic TV podcast, and Horseshoes and Hand Grenades, which is a long-running comedy podcast I do with my co-host, Ashley, and we have a great time. We've been doing this thing for 570 episodes almost since 2007, and we have basically capped at about 60 downloads at a time. So get out your phone, subscribe to the podcast. Let's get that number up. No, that's not what this is about. We're going to hold you at the door.
Door is coming down.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. No, but that's what inspired me to pitch this panel to DragonCon is the value that we've found as a community, which we affectionately call the Legion of Dorks, around our podcast is all the cool stuff that our group's been able to do with a very small amount of people. And I want to give everybody a chance to kind of share the journey of building that community. So I'm just going to throw the question out to the panel, and whoever's interested, go for it. Oh,
Our last panelist is here.
our last panelist. Oh my goodness. Please come take a seat.
And for
Take a seat.
dramatic
Introduce yourself,
introduction.
right?
Yes.
You've made it. You're not too late.
Oh, I don't know. I feel too.
We're just getting started.
Oh, that's perfect timing.
Yeah. Take a breath.
Oh,
Introduce yourself when you're ready.
Oh,
We'll
okay.
get
Well,
going.
yes, I am the incredibly out of breath Channing Sherman. I've been coming to panels on here since it was known as the podcasting track. Getting ready to launch my own podcast in the fall. I'm also one of the founders of the Black Geeks of DragonCon. It's a diversity group that we have here. I always tell people it's a party, not a protest. So feel free to come out. And I've worked in web content and digital production for about 20 years. 10 of that in journalism. So I say that to say I know about how to deal with trolls and building communities.
Foreshadowing, by the way.
Yes. If you've ever read the comments below news stories on like Yahoo, that's what I dealt with on a daily basis.
Wow.
My soul is dark and cold. And I apologize for being late. Do not schedule stuff at the Sheraton before you have to get down here.
I feel that.
Like pro tip.
Yeah, you got dragged through the heat for that one. Yeah, that's not a good time. Well, cool. Well, yeah, I'm gonna give you a second to take a breath, but so I kind of wanted to start off with just as far as communities and what we've built. Like, when did you really realize that you were part of something special? Like, at what point did you figure out like this community is actually gonna be kind of awesome?
So
Right now.
Right now, yeah. I mean, hey, that counts. Yeah, right.
This moment with you all. Yes. You've made it happen.
Yeah,
Well, I guess I'm at the end, so I might as well.
yeah, go for it.
But for me, it was pretty quickly. So I've been full-time content creator for about a year. I've been doing it for about 2 years. So I'd say about a week and a half after I had my first content really start to like go hard. When I started, people were asking me to start a Discord, and I was like, why the hell would I do that? But they wanted me to, so I did. And when I started watching the connections and friendships generate within members of the community, that made me realize like, oh, none of this is about me. Like, this is not about me at all. I am just the thing that all these people have in common that causes them to be in the same spaces together. So it was when people started like chatting in the Discord and then saying like, yeah, hold on here, let me add you as a friend and DM me. And then like a month later, they're like, hey, we started our own whole thing. That was magical. I had some fans get married to each other after meeting like through stuff that I did. But yeah, when watching the relationships blossom between members of the community is, I'd say for me, the most meaningful part of doing what I do. Because I'm just a guy, I think I have some thoughts on things that might be useful to some people, but I certainly have a lot of other areas I don't know anything about. And so watching other people bring stuff for each other outside of me, that's when it really started to realize like, oh, this is not a job. This is like a calling to create spaces where other people can meet each other. So anyways, answer a month in.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's pretty. That's quick turnaround. Yeah, and Discord was a good tool for that.
Discord was a good tool. Well,
yeah.
and then later Minecraft. I forgot to mention. I'm the owner of the Questcraft server. We're currently on season 2, but it's a Minecraft SMP it's designed with neurodivergent people in mind. So it's meant to be a safe place for autistic people, people with ADHD, OCD, all sorts of neurodivergencies to come together. And then watching people collaborate on creative projects, the same type deal. So anyways, yeah, Discord and any place where people are interacting with each other and not just me engaging with my content.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that was one of the things I think with the Legion of Dorks when we set up Discord, and I was in there all the time, with my co-host and with other people, and we talked all the time. Then I went on vacation, and there's nobody, everybody that was in as a host of a show that we do was gone, and people continued to talk to each other, and that was this is awesome. People are actually they set up game nights and stuff without us involved. And so that's a huge opportunity. And the instant messaging thing, forums used to be the jam. I'm old. Forums were the thing, but now it's it's faster. You can get the talk, the communication going, the better. Anybody else have any stories they wanted to share before we?
The first video I made for Trek Expertise was called Native Americans in Star Trek. That's the topic. And I remember in retrospect, this is a marker of when we quote unquote broke out into the Trek community. But an Emmy award winning writer reached out, called me to tell me why I was wrong. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. And maybe that was a moment.
You really made it there.
Yeah.
Well, I got on his radar, so
That's awesome.
Nice.
That's
It's like we're
fantastic.
doing something.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, my story doesn't top that, but it took about a year before I realized it. But I realized mine in real life. Going back to the Black Geeks DragonCon photo shoot, it was started partially as a joke, because people would always ask me, "Well, are there even Black people at sci-fi conventions?" Yeah, and then the other reason I just want to get together and take a picture, and we had our first one in 2015. And the year after that, I literally had people of color coming up to me and saying, "Hey, thank you. I didn't know there were that many of us here." Mm-hmm. Or I didn't know that there were that many of us that were interested in building robots or dressing in spandex or anything like that. And there are people who call that shoot a family reunion because there are folks they might only see once or twice a year. And that's kind of here at DragonCon. So it was about a year into it when it kind of hit me. And made me think, man, this was a lot. Maybe I should have done this.
We very much partake in that. Thank you for starting that. Thank you so much. For me, it's a similar story. Sitting up, working on your community, coming in every day because that's streaming, right? Like you hop in, it's like, oh, it's fun right now. Yeah, we just do what we want. I get to play games and people come in and I talk to them for a while. Then somebody suggests, oh yeah, make the Discord. And then they start talking without you. And it's like, oh, so y'all don't even care. So I was just the connect. Okay. And that very much is what blew it into what it is. So people are like, oh, hey, Chelsea, you're supposed to be on right now. Who am I going to, talk to about why gas prices are so high? And it just becomes that rhythm of, hey, we want to talk to you. Please. Thank you. And that's when it started hitting me. And then, of course, it changed DragonCon for me too, because now I've gone for almost 10 years now. And recently in the past 2, it's been coming into rooms like this. I've never done this on a regular basis. So it's even changing my normal habits. And that's where it really feels like community.
Yeah, right on.
For me, with the All's Fair in Lava and Floor podcast, which I do love the title as much as I get embarrassed every time I have to say it out loud.
It's great.
It was, for me, it is a lot of this is a dumb thing that I'm extremely passionate about. And that's the kind of content I make when I do make content. And finding people out there who also were like, yes, this dumb show is my favorite thing in the whole world, and giving them something to a place to go and then find other people who also loved it was pretty huge for me. Seeing people on Twitter who were tweeting at or about our show and then would have comments and conversations together in there. And then the blessing and curse of season 2 got announced. You wouldn't believe how many tweets I got tagged in. Awesome. I hadn't seen it, but at the same time I was like, bless all of you so much, because you're excited about this thing and you want to share this with as many people as possible, and so do I. And so this is beautiful. But also along the lines of yours, one of the producers of that show has tweeted at me and been like, so tell me what you think about the changes we made for season 2.
Nice. All right.
That's called impact, baby.
Yeah. So the strategy is pick a real niche thing and
Real
just
niche.
dig in.
I mean, if that's
Yeah.
what you love, though,
Yeah.
like that's how you produce genuine, sincere content that people will connect with, is having a genuine and sincere passion about it.
Mhm.
And maybe it's a dumb obstacle course game show, but maybe it's crafting with literal, like, found trash. Like, maybe that is, whatever it is. I also play a lot of Stardew Valley, and
Yeah.
I don't have any content about that on the internet, but there are people who know that about me enough to tweet at me anything they find Stardew Valley. And I think that's great. And I want that to happen forever. But like, if you have a genuine enthusiasm and passion for something, people will resonate with that, and you will find a community who also has it. And like, all any of us want is to talk about the stuff we're really excited about with other people who are excited about it. And so that is like the most surefire way to guarantee like an actual community comes out of what you're doing, is that you personally actually super care about it.
Yeah. And I think too that I mean, look around here. And sci-fi stuff like this wasn't always as huge as it is now. Like, you're sitting in years of progress of people finding each other and going, oh, do you like Lord of the Rings? We're a bunch of weirdos together. And then going, we should all hang out together. And then it just, now look at us, like 50,000 people or 80,000 in some years.
I have to add on to this, okay?
Yeah.
Just be prepared when you really dive into what you love. People are going to ask you questions. So now it's, hey, Chelsea, can you fix my computer? Every other day. And I'm like, I can't see the problem from here. You took a really nice picture of your motherboard. But hey, like maybe we can figure it out together. DM me. And it's become tech support real fast in some cases. But hey, just be prepared, think hard, and be ready, because people will find you. They will.
Now, I will say, as someone who has older parents, I feel your pain.
You probably know. You already just take that and multiply it by like 5 and maybe 10. Eventually 1,000. It just is what it is.
Yeah, it's Christmas with your parents who don't know how to work a computer over. And not to pick on parents, I'm a parent, but there are people don't know how to do stuff, and you're like, it's Christmas time. Now I'm fixing the printer for the 80th time. By the way, printers. There wouldn't be tech problems if there weren't printers.
The printer.
But this could dissolve real quick into like, let's fix everybody's printers. But I didn't mention this at the top, but there's a mic in the middle of the room. If you have a question, you can ask one. You can just wander up and don't be shy. Ask a question about, community growth or whatever. That's what we're here for. But we did talk a little bit about, somebody mentioned Twitter. I know TikTok. I'm actually kind of curious what some of your strategies are for like engaging with people and like actually nurturing that community, what tools you might use or ways you kind of figure out like, okay, I'm going to see if I can engage more with this person because they're on my frequency, to some frequency. I like to use frequency. It's got, it's got wiggle room.
I appreciate that. I appreciate frequency.
Yeah, sure.
I think I like that. I just kind of get to default start at the end.
This is great. You're helping me out, so go for it.
I was gonna say I've moderated enough panels that I'm like, somebody just needs to start talking.
Yeah.
But for me, it's a lot about remembering, just like I said at the beginning, that it's really just not about you. When you're making any kind of content, it's really easy, especially not necessarily in the beginning, but in like the middle, like a year in, when you start to feel like you're hot stuff. I caught it, by the way. That jar will remain empty from me. I'm just saying. When you start to think it is about you, and whenever you're making any kind of content of any kind, the end result is, what is this going to do for the person and people that are going to be consuming it in any way? So for me, whenever I'm making any content of any kind, is this either educational? Is it entertaining? Or is it, oh my God, what is the third one?
Educational, entertaining.
Or relatable.
Relatable.
And they can be a mixture of all of those things.
I was thinking ease. It's like, what is he talking about?
It really should. I should turn that
We'll
last one
figure it
into
out.
an
We'll
E.
figure it out for you.
Yeah.
Let me think on it while you keep talking.
Hey, I do that. Maybe for the acronym. But remembering what it's doing for them. And so when I make a video, I think about like if it's a crafting thing, I'm thinking about who's going to make this, bagpipe out of dishwashing glove and straws. It's going to be like kids, like I was, who could never sleep at night, and it's 3 a.m, so they can't like ask their parents to drive them somewhere, but they got the crafting urge, which if you know what it's like, you just got to make something. They got to find whatever's around. So like, all right, that kid's getting that out of it. And then there are parents who are like looking for stuff to do with their kids, like crafting projects that are pretty safe. Like they'll get something out of that. So it's trying to think about the experience that the consumer is going to have with it, first and foremost, because they have really good noses. I'm also a person.
What? Are you serious?
Yeah. Well, it is
Hello,
before
fellow
noon,
humans.
so half person. But people can sense when you're doing it for you. People can sense when you're trying to make yourself look good or look smart or look whatever. Like they can smell that. And so I think, like being authentic, whatever it is that you're doing, thinking about what is their experience going to be, and do I mean this? Do I mean what I'm saying? Do I mean what I'm doing? Because once you find yourself not doing that, one, your career is going, your time is numbered. But people can sense that immediately, and your community will start recognizing that, like, oh, this person really just wants to feel famous or something like that. And also realizing that when you're unapologetically passionate about the whatever thing, the floor is lava, which, by the way, Kate and I were this close to being on that show. We were so close, we couldn't make the
We
schedules
gotta
work.
talk afterwards.
But I was going to say, if you know anybody, oh my God, I want to jump in that goo.
So bad.
But whatever it is that you're passionate about, whatever it is that you're just unabashedly, unapologetically passionate about, no matter how ridiculous it is, making stuff out of trash, you're not only showing the other people that are also into that, hey, it's okay to be into this, but more generally, you're saying, hey, everybody, it's okay to be really into stuff. It's okay to be unapologetically passionate about whatever it is. So like a lot of the relationships that I've built with my audience are with people that have virtually no common actual interests with me, except for one, which is having passionate interests. That's what we have in common. So think about what you're actually giving to the person who's consuming your content. Remembering it's not about you, and then remembering whatever you're saying, you're probably saying a lot more than that to the person because you're only half of it. They still have to hear it. And so you might be saying like, hey, I really like The Floor is Lava. I have a whole podcast about it. But what they're hearing is, oh, it's okay to endeavor. It's okay to dare to do the thing. It's okay to try to start your bakery or textile business or whatever. So anyways, that.
I love that. So I have this thing where I listen to conversations and it takes me into completely different tangents. So could you please remind me what your
the question. What are strategies and stuff for engagement and
Thank you.
keeping
No,
up with people?
because you said something amazing. With strategies, of course. With certain strategies and things, hello, I'm a computer scientist. I went to school. I've looked at numbers a lot, sat in front of my computer, typing a lot, wondering why something works when it shouldn't. And that's me. So I approach everything with a very analytical mindset. I just can't help it. I'm like, oh, it makes sense that this would work because it had this and this component. And of course, the algorithm would do X, Y, and Z. And it's just fun, like finding, I know, right? The almighty algorithm. It's fun looking for like me as a creator, because this is very much not exclusive to CS or anything like that. Like you as a creator, you can feel the algorithm. Like you know, like, oh man, on YouTube, it's got to get hot quick because once it starts cooling down, it'll just kind of have a low ride. Or TikTok. It's interesting how TikTok works.
Oh yeah.
You said it and you just have to forget it. Like truly, like, yeah, go back and comment, but it can go up and down at any pace or time. I really love experimenting with TikTok and other platforms such as that. Like Twitter, I can just do what I want. Like I have fun. Be your genuine self, be fun, because they can smell it in an instant. Like, yeah, you're being fake, or this is kind of forced. So I have a manager, aka my husband. Don't marry your manager. I'll say that. No.
Was he your manager before?
Don't marry him before, the whole or after. There we go. That's the direction. I got disoriented.
Sorry, I don't mean to distract you.
Don't marry your manager when they're your manager. Marry them before they're your manager. So very, very, involved, because I feel like that's just a natural thing. Like, they're excited about what you're doing. They want to be involved in what you create. But, I like to post genuine things. So that means I don't post all the time. I'm not the person to be like, let me post 3 organic tweets a day. Like, I have to do it or Twitter's going to hate me. I could do that, but it's going to come off really forced, and you can tell the difference. So Manager Mango tried that out. He was like, it's fine. I'll tweet for you. I got you. I know you like inside and out. We've been together for so long. But when you get on Twitter, and maybe this is because it's my eyes, maybe it's because I know me and I know him, you can just see the difference. It's like, oh yeah, that's a Manager Mango tweet right there. It was good, but I feel like it's very much like, hi, hello, I am Chelsea and I am daisies and flowers and this is great, guys, check this out. And I'm so flattered with how he sees me. Like, you think I'm so nice, like, wow. And then I'll get on my Twitter and I'll be like, hey, look at this cool dog. It's great, y'all, look at that. But it's interesting because even the closest people to you, like, it's still hard to execute that tone. Like, it really does have to be you. So I've learned, yes, some platforms, you really got to just be you. Like, you just got to take it, be as frequent as you can, and don't let it just take over. Like, you got to just go with the flow. And I also love that you were talking about how you allow people to find spaces where you get to be passionate about things. Because for me, it was very much a journey as well. I'm like, oh, wow, yeah. Oh, there are people who like this stuff too. Like, oh, I can do this. I can build computers for companies that I didn't expect to reach out just from me talking so much. So it doesn't just allow your audience to discover things, you discover things too. Like, you're going to go on a journey as well. So be prepared for that. You're going to go places that you don't expect, and your community is going to take you. So be ready. Yeah. Did not mean for that to come off like super inspirational. Or,
No, I'm getting inspired.
Good.
You are the wind
For sure.
beneath our wings.
Yeah.
The wind.
Does anybody want to
Did
buy
you
a
make that
bar
up?
with me?
Yeah.
We should buy a bar.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll build computers and help neurodiverse people in our bar.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You guys
All
dream
out
bar.
of trash.
Voltron of panelists just come together. And
I think we just invented a
with
library.
lava floors.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did.
It has to be a lava themed bar.
Yeah, right.
So
Gosh, we're so smart. All right, see y'all. We're leaving. We have
stuff.
we got stuff.
Yeah.
So, stuff to do.
Yeah.
I'd probably echo what these guys are saying. If you're going to make stuff, make it based on something you love or something you want to say in public. Don't worry about algorithms or numbers. Be organic with how you post, because if you force it, it's not going to feel right. We're very consumer intelligent. People here know when you're trying to sell something to somebody. Don't look at the numbers, just post. It's all about the back catalog. Because when someone discovers you, you've already been working, you've already been producing. And it's about what's sitting in the background. For Chexpertise, there's a whole bunch of videos there. Once they discover you, there's like a whole bunch of extra stuff they get to watch, and that's how they get hooked. So just focus on quality over quantity. Except I would advise that you engage with your comment sections on whatever the platform is. Any positive comment, just make sure you interact with that person and ignore any kind of trolls.
Yeah.
That's the only strategy I really use on YouTube.
Yeah. No, that's solid for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely echo the be conscious of what you're engaging with, I guess, because there's always going to be trolls. You could have 2 downloads on your podcast and one of them would be a troll.
Mhm.
Like, that's just how it works. And so to some extent, you also have to start to train your brain to kind of accept that not everybody's going to love your thing, and that's okay. Especially with stuff like, I mean, I live in podcast world, so this is where all my numbers come from in my head. I will get, a dozen replies sometimes to a podcast episode or something like that if it was particularly cool or interesting. But I got 1,000 downloads. there are a ton of people who are loving my stuff who aren't engaging online. And I need to kind of remember that in the back of my head, because there are a lot of people who are just saying, I love this, to themselves, for themselves. And so you got to not let yourself forget those people when like one person poops in your punch.
I'm gonna use that. As
I
a good
like
one.
that.
I was gonna cuss and I panicked.
Great recovery.
Yeah.
It's getting closer.
That's going in the lexicon.
I know. I'm just gonna keep this right here. But yeah, it's, you know, I think that that's one other strategy to keep in mind is like there are a lot of people who silently love what you do. Even if you aren't a content creator, when you're making a post on Facebook to your friends and family, there are people liking it or looking at it and enjoying it, and not everybody's saying something about it. And if one person is mean to you, 100 people love you, and don't forget those people.
I love that.
Yeah, just to piggyback off that, people are much quicker to criticize than they are to compliment. It's a sad but true fact, especially online. When we would, when I worked in the news, we'd redesign a newspaper website. We could look at the analytics and see more engagement, see people enjoying it. But when we set up a feedback form, hey, what do you think? Hate this. Bring back the old format. Trash. But we still see, but the numbers show opposite of this, and that's because the people who liked it just liked it and kept using it and didn't say anything.
Yeah, like normal people.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, like normal
Oh my
people.
gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
And just
people
kind of
with
make
houses.
a quick pivot. You mentioned what tools we use for engagement.
Yeah, sure.
Because of the nature of my group, my answer is anything that's free.
There you go.
There is some good stuff out there. I used to like this tool, and its name rhymes with boot heat. And it was a really good free one for a while, and then they dialed back a bunch of their features. I have one person helping me with social media. So it's me and one other person. Sorry. So I was using Hootsuite. Oops, I said it now. To schedule a lot of things, but then they kind of dialed it back.
Yeah.
Whenever I share a link, just out of habit, I still use Bitly to shorten it, just because it gives me another source of analytics, so I can see what people are actually clicking on. And I don't know if you all have experienced this. If you ever posted a link and you see that link might get 100 likes, but then you look at the click report and see it's only been clicked on like 5 times.
Let's talk about it. Okay.
Yeah.
So I love analytics, and it's like wild on Twitter because there's so many conflicting opinions on, oh, well, if I post a link here, will people actually click it? How does this affect my engagement? This, that, and really, I did a little mini experiment and I was like, man, what does Twitter do? So I would post the link in my comments instead of directly on it. And I thought that was going to ruin the link clicks. I got more, like 30% more clicks. So really, all I'm saying is experiment, mess around and see what works with you. We don't want you to get bogged down in the numbers, but you might find something interesting when you start to monitor them like once a month and you switch up. Because I understand that. You're like, okay, y'all like this, but are y'all clicking it? Like, what do I need to do to get you to click this link? And truly your audience, it can be anything. There's chronological timelines, there are top timelines. Like there's so many different ways to portray information. So it's going to be some work. You got to sit down, look at your platform and get comfortable. It's like making your way in your home. Dress it up, make it nice, all that.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. I feel you.
I'd also like to say I'm pitching a panel for next year called "What Does Twitter Do?" That's
I
got to
would
be
be
a
there.
panel. Yes.
Oh my
Right
God.
on.
Yeah. Oh, better yet, what that Twitter do?
What that Twitter do.
Yes.
Yes.
If you're an aspiring creator, by the way, panel pitches are always open for people to pitch whatever they want. Remember that, because it's the only reason we're sitting up there right now is giving it a go. But yeah, so I wanted to kind of touch on this, and we're about halfway through. So if you got questions and want to do that, I want to make sure you've got time. So go ahead and stand up if you need to. Not pressure, just offering. But in terms of like community management. Yeah, right. Like in management, in terms of like what you want the community to be, what you want to grow into. There's a phrase in podcasting and streaming: you get the audience you deserve.
Yeah.
And I know within the Legion of Dorks, we've had incidences of people coming in just did not match the frequency, and and sometimes big fights. And I let it sit for a long time before finally going, I'm sorry, dude. You just gotta you gotta not be here anymore. You're upsetting everybody. It hurts me to do that because like I want to be the most open community in the world. But like you have a Star Trek, community, and somebody comes and says, I hate Star Trek. I'd like to talk about something else. And you're like, well,
Why are you here? What do you want?
Bad example then. Yeah, bad example. But I'm curious to how you guys feel when that occurs to you. When it might not be a troll, it might be somebody that seems like I'm a super awesome person. You're like, oh, great to have you, and then they just tank your vibes. How do you deal with that, and how quickly do you
so
tend to deal
much
with
to
it?
say.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh yeah, no, it's like every community on every platform and every corner of the internet. You just deal with what you're comfortable with. Don't let people tell you what you should or shouldn't do with your community. Like, yes, if your community is a little spicy, y'all a little comfortable talking to each other spicy like that, then that's what you build. And that's why I really like that you said you get the community you deserve. So just recognize who you are, recognize what you're comfortable with, and then just put your foot down. All right. Now, I will say, I don't think it's okay to let people be disrespectful to you because that's a difference. Everybody deserves grace, respect, and kindness. So if you have somebody coming here like calling you names or calling everybody in your community names and they voice that they don't like that, or it's not like some inside joke, then yeah, don't let it sit. Go ahead, ban them. I've had a lot of streamers, especially women, who are like, yeah, I just had this one guy who would come in and he'd be like, oh yeah, you're my girlfriend now. It is what it is. I donated like $5 to you. Like, you're mine now. And they really have this mentality, or they just think it's a funny joke. And it's not. Like, it's not funny. Right. But they wouldn't ban this person. Understand? Yes.
Yeah.
You don't. I don't care how much money they throw at you. Baby, this is your house. This is your, like, you are letting people into your space. So have some respect for you. Like, if you wouldn't let somebody come in your house, kick their shoes off in your bed and hop on your bed or any of that, don't let them do it in your chat. Don't let them do it in your comment section. If you can control that, don't. So just sit back and be like, I don't like that. And even if you're just a little bit weirded out, like even if they're not doing anything really wrong, if they still give you weird vibes, I mean, would you let a stranger into your house that's kind of just making you go like, what you doing? Looking at that painting a little too hard. What's going on? Like, would you let them stay? No, kick them out. Don't apologize. That's what I need you to know. Don't apologize. If you don't like it, get it out of there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this in as non-creepy a way as possible. I love you because I was about to use the house example for the same thing.
Yes.
But here's the thing: it doesn't just apply to strangers. I have a pretty wide array of friends, a diverse group. If I have a friend who's homophobic, and thankfully I don't, but just on the off chance I did, if they come in my house and they start talking about, oh my God, gays are bad, they should all burn in hell. Yeah, they can say that, but they can't say it in my house. Yeah. Like, they've got to get out and they'll never be back again. So these communities that you manage, even if you don't own it, if it's just a community on Facebook, think of it as a lease on your house. It's still your property. It's your community. And it could be somebody who started out nice and then they just turned into a raging misogynist overnight. Kick them out and don't feel guilty about it. That just makes it better for everybody. And it's going to make it a little bit easier for you to sleep at night. So yes,
no, I'm gonna
homeowners unite.
I'm gonna take this. No, seriously, like, you will, if you just met them day one, I promise you, you got to give them a vetting period, okay? Because some people they get weird, okay? So yeah, give it some time. That's why regulars are great. I've talked to some people for like 2-3 years now, so I know them online. Like, I know how they act online. I still don't know them. With parasocial relationships, very dangerous. But when I see them, I'm like, oh, hey, great. We're in a routine. We have a rapport. Boom.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd also point out, so I think with any community, there's like a hard line where obviously blatant bigotry, blatant and repeated disrespect, that's like just no like trial, no arbitration, just immediate, no question banned. Not just to like let them know that that's not cool, but importantly to remind your community that when you're here, you're safe from that. Like, I'm not gonna like sit there and think about it. Like, did they really mean it in that horrible way that they clearly did? Like, it's about reassuring them that like, hey, that's clear. So everything over that line, it takes practice to get used to doing that and wielding that power, and not feeling bad about it and not feeling like maybe they could have been saved or whatever. But
Oh no.
because like 0.001% can, if they're in a chat room doing that kind of stuff, they're not trying to be saved.
Yeah.
But a much more difficult part of community management, which I really learned when I started the neurodivergent Minecraft server, is the gray areas where nobody's in the wrong, but they really shouldn't be in the same room together. Where neither of them are doing anything bad, but just these two people are not on the level together. That's a really hard situation because you can't kick either one of them because one, that would be mean, neither of them did anything wrong. But they also can't just be allowed to, because eventually they're going to kill each other. So figuring out how to keep people in your community that deserve to be there, that haven't done some offense that gets them kicked, but also keep them from ruining the experience of others. Because like I also play a lot of D&D on our podcast, and we talk a lot about how no one player's experience is more important than anybody else's. So have a good time, but make sure you're not taking away from other people's. Similarly, when you're a member of a community, no one member, no matter how long they've been there, no matter how much money they've thrown at you, if they mod for you, whatever it is, no one person's experience is more important than another. And you have a responsibility at some point, whether you ask for it or not, to improve the lives of these people with your community and not detract from it. So trying to find ways of resolving conflicts, or at least pausing conflicts between well-meaning parties, especially in my community, it's kind of an odd case because the thing that all the members of my communities in my Discords and Minecraft and Twitch chats and all that, the thing that all brings us together is we're all woefully neurodivergent, which means we have a really hard time reading tone in person, much less in text. We very often will say something that we're not realizing actually comes off very different, from what we meant because we dropped connotation or something like that. So the thing we all have in common is that we want to play well with others. We're just not good at it. We're sort of like the dog that like knocks stuff over with its enthusiasm. So resolving conflict between parties who both mean well but can't quite express what they're trying to say to the other person, being able to handle situations like that. I've been doing it for 2 years, and I think I'm kind of starting to get good at it. But what I've noticed is, especially as your community grows, that I sort of think of things as like star systems or solar systems, where, for example, I have a Minecraft player on my server who is a very technical player. They're not in it for like lore, gameplay, or artistic stuff. They like to farm items and make very technical creations. And they're very straight and to the point. They do not have time for the creative aspect of it, which is totally fine. I have a lot of other players who are the exact opposite of that. And both of those things are totally fine. I'm so stoked and honored that they're like on my server and doing what makes them feel passion. Like, it's just awesome. But when they interact, they start to butt heads. And so I try to find like their star system. Like, well, who else thinks like this person does and would get along with this person, and try to get them in the same spaces. So rather than having these two people who disagree on something find each other and get mad at each other, they're too busy engaging with all the people that do like building the technical farms or building the creative stuff. So trying to assemble like star systems of people who think similarly. Again, I want to just finish this by saying this is all within the realm of acceptable behavior. Like, this is not like, oh, he's a racist, go find the other racist. Like, that's not a thing. Don't do that. But people who mean well and are generally, they're not, doing horrible offenses, but just have different takes and personalities. Trying to get them to find their people so that they can have fun with each other and not onto each other.
I'm sure you guys will notice too, but if you set the right tone from the beginning, the crowd will kind of police itself a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Which is really nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
for sure.
It's free labor.
Everybody's a mod in my chat.
Yeah.
Everybody moderates in my chat.
Oh, right.
Everyone
what did you say?
snitches in mine.
Yeah. I am the number one snitch in my chat. So like they're like, oh, we know Chelsea's gonna tell. Okay. But I love that.
Cool. Well, I have another question, but I wanted to preface it with a cool story. I'm going to take the mic for a second and tell the story about the Legion of Dorks. So one of the things I think inspired me to do this channel is knowing we only had like 60 listeners for our show forever, but we had, about 20 or so that were in the Discord all the time. And I go on, Facebook podcasting groups, not gonna name any particular ones, but you almost always see, I've been podcasting for a week and I don't have 500 listeners. I've only got 300 listeners. And I'm like, well, calm down. Like, it's okay. Give yourself a break. But they're not putting a lot of value in the ones they have. And one of the things that came out of our community, few things that came out of our community when it was small, or is still small, we had people find out someone was in dire straits at Thanksgiving, and we ordered them like a DoorDash from Boston Market to get them through. We actually have a really successful writer publisher in our group. And she was like, hey, you guys do a charity stream every year. I want to put out an anthology of stories with you guys. So we had everybody in the community write a story, put out a legit book, and sell it for Toys for Tots. So they like half the proceeds after they paid for the cost goes to Toys for Tots. We've done that 3 years in a row, and the community's still kind of small. So I was kind of wondering if you guys had any stories of like your community really coming through and doing something cool for each other or something else. I know we've got a question too, so we can take the question first and then come back. Yeah, because I want to give Mick time.
So you kind of already touched on it a little bit, a few of you have, but I was curious if you have any tips for maintaining privacy while being authentic, because I feel like sometimes I overshare with my community and then it's like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't have shared that. So any tips would be great. Thanks.
Yeah.
I personally basically only do like community on Twitter. My Instagram is private. My Facebook, nobody cares, right? Nobody cares. Nobody's going to find me on Facebook. But I used to be a high school teacher, so that was all turned way down to begin with because I didn't want my students finding me. I think that there's value in having separation of like profiles. I think there's value in having a private space for you to talk to your friends and family and like post pictures of your nibblings or, stuff like that without worrying about like someone being like, so why aren't you streaming right now? You weren't on yesterday. And so having somewhere like that to have like a mental delineation is really important, I think, for yourself and for your own mental health. And then also, I stand by, you have to be authentic and you have to be yourself, but there's a certain amount of awareness that you have to have that you are kind of performing. Your job is performing. And so having a little bit of a, especially for some of us who are neurodivergent, like it's easier to think of it as a mask or like a character that we're playing. Pretend you're playing D&D and you've got your character that you're playing in your game, and that's who your like public persona is. And like, is it not, it is you, but it's you turned up to like 11 and maybe you want to only be at 6 most of the time. And having just that mental awareness of like this account or this space or this area is where I can turn it up to 11, and where I am thinking, well, this is content. This is not me making a post to talk to my friends. This is content I'm putting out, this tweet, this stream, this post, whatever. And trying to make sure that you make that like mental delineation is really important, and saving yourself a space to just word vomit whatever you want to your close friends.
Yeah, think about,
Yes.
it's all going on the public record. Think about what it looks like 10 years from now. It sucks to think about it in that term, but every time you go to a social media website, it's like 10 years from now when I get hit by a train carrying an army of giraffes, and they're going to look this up. What is it going to sound like on the nightly news?
Yeah.
And tread carefully.
Wow, she posted 30 cat pictures in one day. And just my last like thing to put in, look at all the tools you have on your platforms and make sure to add or take away whatever information you don't want perceived. Like for me, last names, no. Addresses, of course, right? Don't take pictures outside your place and post them.
Yeah.
Like, watch for street names, things like that. Like, I'm always focused on your immediate safety. And then from there, if you feel like it's a little too personal, make a fake account, add your closest friends, if you, and just kind of vet it there. So when you post it and you're like, wow, I love that post, then you could probably try it on the main account. So you can just kind of vet it there, see how you feel, get your friends to react to it. And then you can have that like split second of like, okay, I digested it, I processed it, I like it. Let's move it to the, and just give yourself some time. So fake accounts, check your tools, and don't share your name, please.
And I know I have to move on, but also setting boundaries.
Yes.
If hopefully your audience is kind and good natured, which you seem to be, so generally we attract each other. But people generally respond well to politely set boundaries. If you say like, "Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for caring," but like, I'm not looking for medical advice or people's comments on my mental health. Like, I appreciate you care.
Ban button. Just ban.
Yep.
You're done on Twitter
Yeah.
everywhere.
And-
Yeah.
Just do your one comment on Twitter, say, "Hey, I wasn't looking for this, guys," and then just move on. Just ignore all that other trash.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Hi. Good morning.
Good morning.
What is the panel's opinion about using surveys from your audience for direct feedback? Like, is that just a whole lot of mess coming in, or is it actually something you can fine tune and also learn more about your audience?
If you can
Yeah.
get them to fill it out, let me know. 'Cause
Right. I mean, I think
like,
the thing that you have to remember, I think it's useful information, but you have to remember that it's inherently biased toward the chunk of your audience that cares enough to comment.
Exactly.
And also, like we were saying earlier, people are a lot more likely to do stuff if they're mad than if they're happy with it. So it is useful data, but
Yes.
you got to remember asterisk, a tenth of the people who follow you are going to take it. And the solution to that is basically nothing. There's a reason like Amazon and Google are like, please, we'll give you money if you take this survey, because they can't get people to do it. So it's difficult, and you don't want to let those numbers skew you too hard. Use it as an indicator, but not like a hard set truth if you do it.
Some
What
of
I
the
do-
best ones
Oh, go ahead.
we've done were they've got to be real specific.
Yes.
If your survey has a bunch of open-ended questions, yeah, you're probably going to get a lot of, to be honest, garbage coming in. But we were doing questions like, hey, what if we were to move our photo shoot to this time or this time, how would you feel? Would you like to have a meetup outside of DragonCon? Very specific, very focused questions. And we got some good feedback on that. But yeah, surveys, it's a 50-50 proposition.
For someone like me who I know with Twitch, it's really a weird place to find like demographics on like specific users or whatnot, because Twitch has to uphold some sort of privacy, correct? A lot of my community building, of course, is in Discord. So while I'm not asking them specific questions about like, oh, how do you feel about going to my Twitch stream? I will, I used to do this thing where I would send them things like letters and badges like every few months, and they would fill out a little bit of information, and I'd ask them like one thing at the end, like, hey, how you doing? And you can kind of just at least see engagement from there. I have this many members in my Discord, this many people are eligible to receive letters this month, how many respond? So for me, it's just like that temperature gauge, of course, with calibration and adjustment, but it's just a good gauge. Other than that, I don't feel like you're going to get anything fine-tuned.
Yeah.
So good luck if you figure it out.
Yeah.
Hit me up.
And if you do, like, if you're interested in feedback surveys, like, how's my show going, or what do you like about it, or what do you don't like about it, like, just go to cons like this and find other professionals or people who are doing what you're doing, and just talk to them about what you're doing. They'll probably give you better feedback than your
Yes.
audience.
Yep.
Yeah.
So ask a lot of questions while you're here.
Network.
People be like, I'm doing this. Does this make sense? Be like, I would probably pitch it this way, because everybody's tried and failed thousands of times.
Ask
So
your friends to
engage.
review it.
Yeah.
They'll
Trusted
give you
audiences.
honest. Yeah.
Yeah, honest friends, not nice ones. We love it. Did you listen? No. Yeah, but we got a few more questions.
Thanks.
So yeah, thanks. We
Absolutely.
appreciate it. I want to try to get to as many as we can before one time.
First of all, I think you guys are doing a great job. So fantastic. So I'm about a year and a half into my YouTube channel, and it's kind of taken off. And I was a big fan of community, so we have the Discord, we have a Patreon, and all that other stuff. How do you go when we're talking about managing a channel? Is time wise for me. So we do have the Patreon, and money's coming in, but we're break even. We're not making money, and we're not profitable in that respect. But when you're getting a few hundred emails a month, a few Discord, a few hundred Discord messages a month, a few hundred Instagram messages a month, a few hundred Twitter messages a month, Facebook. So I'm like 14 different accounts where everyone's messaging me. How do you separate that time without feeling that guilt? And I tell people, I also am a very open book where I tell people, like, I take screenshots, send them out to people and say, I have 648 messages just from my YouTube account, let alone real life. And I have a part-time job and another job on top of that. So how do you deal with without hiring outside help, going through all of that.
Are all the channels, all the social channels doing effectively the same job?
Yeah, they're different things. So like my Instagram is, I tell people like for between YouTube, I say if you want to see what's happening in my life, my Instagram stories will be the in between stream stuff, and then my live streaming and YouTube channel is the other stuff, and then the Discord's more of like community where we have that like family atmosphere.
Yeah.
I would find a way to peel back, or like Instagram's a nice space. I only post imagery, like cinematic photos, just photos. It's nothing to do with anything else I'm doing except for filmmaking in general.
Yeah.
People don't contact me there because I've set a boundary there.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I said I'd rather you message me on Instagram because to me that's just easy to get back and forth, and I could also put a face to a name sometimes.
It feels overwhelming just hearing about it, but like my advice would be to funnel X activity into Y spot and leave it there, because like you're getting a lot of interaction. That's fine, but like if it's happening in 14 places, you're gonna be balled by.
No, I hear you, and I've told people that too. I'm like, listen, I'm about 1,000 emails in, so I'm like, if you wrote me an email, you're not gonna get a response in the next month.
What I would do, and you guys can tell me I'm wrong. People do all the time. Is I would funnel that into Patreon and leave the other channels. Leave those spaces for just stuff you want to share and not talk. And there's like, if you want to come have a conversation with me about content, come over here where you can support me and talk.
Yeah. I think that for me, there's a guilt factor there too, where like if you don't have the money, then you don't have the time for a conversation.
Don't feel guilty. Set like a $1 tier or something.
Also, I'm worth way more than $1.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you know what you're worth. I'm just saying. Yeah,
listen, you're doing a job.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I try to tell people that. To me, it's like I said, managing all these things. So I'm also trying to grow at the same time. So I'm not trying to cut back.
If you're not going to, get any outside help. Oh, I don't know why my strawberries are hissing at me. If you're not going to get any outside help, you are one person.
Yeah.
I assume it's one of you.
Yeah, just me.
I'm here too. I do this maybe with one other person, and they have a full-time job.
Yeah.
You gotta find something to pull back on. And if you're not gonna pull back on it, if you're going to commit to responding to 1,000 emails, that's a lot.
Yeah.
You need to give yourself some, give yourself like an incentive. There needs to be some reward for this, because that's access to you.
Yeah,
that's
valuable.
They're literally
Absolutely.
accessing
I agree.
you. That's your time. I don't know how long it takes you to respond. How long do you sit up responding to these?
I literally do it in any free time I have. So if I'm at a red light, I'll try to bang out 2 or 3 messages or comments. Or if I'm on a train, if I'm on an airplane, everything goes. If I'm falling asleep when I wake up, I'm trying to grow it. So like to me, it's you got to put in the time and energy now, and then hopefully in the future I can have someone to help me out with comments, responses.
Monetize that.
Well, exactly. This clearly is something that people do want.
There's demand there.
There's demand, which means that it is something like just business alone, like the surplus of stuff that you're getting versus the availability of the resources.
You're just giving it away.
You're just
I just feel like you have to give it away in the beginning a little bit, but maybe
when you're past the beginning. If you got that much, you're ready to rock.
I've worked for free. I have.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, you don't need to do that anymore.
Well, and especially, there's just a point where, a lot of those places where people send messages, you can have a thing that says, I do read these eventually, but I do not respond to anything.
I say it in streams too. I do a lot of live streaming. So I tell people all the time, hey, feel free to contact me here, but just so you know, there's about 1,000 people in front of you.
You know how communities, you got to repeat it everywhere.
No, don't say that. You say, I don't respond to all of my messages. I try my best to read them, but I can't respond to all of them anymore.
If you feel guilty about that, just imagine how it feels if you're floating around the internet and you see somebody else do that. You'd understand.
And I also want to like
yourself.
I totally agree with all of that. But in the meantime, frankly, templates. A lot of those messages I imagine are the same thing over and over. Where can I find this episode of that? Hey, is that stream on a VOD? Like, a lot of them are going to be pretty similar. And so just having it feels kind of disingenuous. I mean, if somebody says like, hey, you changed my life, don't like have a template for that. But if a lot of those I imagine are clerical questions. So just having like like, where can I find your podcast? Here. Like, is this on your website? Like, here's my website.
Get that FAQ.
FAQ. Yeah, exactly.
I hate to shut us down, but we're about at time.
Sorry, I'm sorry to take up so much time, but thank you very much.
That's fantastic. I mean, that's the realness right there is like just the inundation of.
Yeah, I was like, hey,
because a lot of messages is one thing, but a lot of messages from a million sources, that's a different story. Oh, and consolidate your emails. Make sure they're all connected.
To hit on what you were saying, with some people who hop on and they're like, "Ooh, why isn't this happening for me right away?" Yeah, the pandemic, it made things feel really quick. Like you
Yeah.
get that response, the fanfare. It just comes so quick. That was not my story. It took me like a year to, just get to where I wanted to be comfortably, and then for people to start seeing me very much ground up. So yeah, be patient and just do it,
Yeah.
please.
Mhm.
Yes, it doesn't have to be perfect. We want you to put out quality stuff, but also you do have to just do it. Don't sit stuck. Get started.
Good now is better than perfect later.
Yes.
That's right. Well, yeah. Well, thank you everybody for coming to the panel. We've had an absolute blast. Thank you for the questions. To the panelists for spending their time hanging out with us. That's great. DragonCon is a giant neighborhood. Get out there, meet people, do some good. Be a Mr. Rogers. Be a good neighbor. Help people out if they need anything. And y'all have a great DragonCon. Enjoy the rest of the time here.
Have a
Cheers,
good
everybody.
DragonCon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.